Good evening. Giving praise to the Most High. Um, I thank Him for allowing me to be here this evening after work. Got a little energy. Um, on the title of this video is The Most High chose King David to be an example to y'all's people. And the purpose for this video is to show the behavior that King David displayed toward the Most High is the reason why that the Most High was pleased with David to the point that the Most High was willing to protect David in everywhere that he where he had to flee from his enemy. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is when we turn toward the Most High and we keep his commandments, the Most High will be with us to protect us if we are willing to keep his commandments. And so what I wanted to show is some things about the things what David did, right? To show the reason why the Most High favored David. And so I wanted to start off that in Isaiah 55, the Most High chose David to be a leader and a commander unto his people, right? So right here, it says, Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that have no money, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfy not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your souls delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. So David is considered to be the king, a leader to the people that the Most High is using to follow his examples and his ways and his behavior. And when you start reading the book of Psalms, David give a lot of examples of how we are to admonish the Most High, how we are to behave ourselves before the Most High and carry ourselves in a way which he has given our people the commandments and the laws to abide by. So with that being said, I wanted to start off and read Psalms 89. And the title of this chapter is called God Exalts His Chosen One. And this is masculine Ethan the Ezraite. And it says in Psalms 89, starting at the top, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. In my mouth will I make known to thy faithfulness to all generations. For I have said, mercy shall be built up forever. Thy faithfulness shall thou establish in the very heavens. I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant. Thy seed will I establish forever and build up thy throne to all generations. Selah. And the heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Lord, thy faithfulness, also in the congregation of the saints. For who in the heaven can be compared unto the Lord? Who among the sons of the mighty can be likened unto the Lord? God is greatly to be feared, and the assembly of the saints, and to be had in reverence of all of them that are about him. And this is talking about a future prophecy that David is going to be king. And like when you read in Jeremiah 23, the Most High is talking about giving a branch unto David, right? So it says, O Lord God of hosts, who is a strong Lord like unto thee, or to thy faithfulness round about thee. Thou rulest the raging of the sea, when the waves thereof arise, thou stillest them. Thou hast broken Rahab in pieces, as one that is slain. Thou hast scattered thy enemies with thy strong arm. The heavens are thine, the earth also is thine, as for the world and the fullness thereof. Thou hast founded them. The north and the south, thou hast created them. Tabor and Hermon shall rejoice in thy name. Thou hast a mighty arm, strong is thy hand, and as high is thy right hand. Justice and judgment are the habitations of thy throne. Mercy and truth shall go before thy face. Blessed is the people that know the joyful sound. They shall walk, O Lord, in the light of the countenance. In thy name shall they rejoice all the day, and the righteousness shall they be exalted. For thou art the glory of the Lord, and in thy favor our horns shall be exalted. For the Lord is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our King. Then thou spakest in vision to thy Holy One, and says, I have laid help upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. I have found David my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him. With whom my hand shall be established, my arms also shall strengthen him. The enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the sons of wickedness afflict him. And I will beat down his foes before his face, and plague them that hate him. But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted. I will set his hand also in the sea, and his right hands in the rivers. He shall cry unto me, Thou art my Father God, and the rock of my salvation, and I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast for him. His seed also will I make to endure, and his throne as the days of heaven. If his children forsake my law and walk not in my judgment, if they break my statutes and keep not my commandments, then will I visit their transgression with the rod, and their iniquity with stripes. Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the things that is going out of my lips. Once I have sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. So this thing right here, as the Most High has established a covenant with King David forevermore, that even in the end time, David is to come back and to be king over Israel. That the Most High has chosen who is this going to be his successor. So when you turn around and read Isaiah 40 and 10, we can read all the way to 10 that the Most High is telling you David shall rule for him. Right? Isaiah 40 and 10. It said, comfort ye my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. The voice said, cry, and he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withered and the flower faded, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withered, the flower faded, but the word of our God shall stand forever. O Zion, that bringeth good tidings, get thee up into the high mountains. O Jerusalem, that bringeth good tidings, lift up thy voice, and with strength lift it up. Be not afraid. Say unto the cities of Judah, behold your God. Behold, the Lord God will come with strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his works before him. So this is talking about David being a king unto Israel, even unto the end time. And so, with this being said, I just want to read probably I give it like two highlights about what David did during the time that he lived and how he behaved in the time of trouble that his enemies was trying to devour him, right? So I'm going to read the one about when Saul was trying to kill when Saul was waiting to kill David, right? So when you read these, a lot of people don't understand that the book of Psalms and the book of Samuel and First Chronicles all lined up with King David, and it talks about the things that King David had to endure during the time that he was in fleeing from his enemies, that he had to cry out to the Most High in order for him to be delivered. So this is 1 Samuel 19, and I'm going to read, this is the story of what took place with David fleeing from Saul. In 1 Samuel 19 and 1, it says, and Saul spake to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David, saying, Saul, my father, seeketh to kill thee now. Therefore, I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in the secret place and hide thyself. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see that I will tell thee. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he have not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee toward war very good. For he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it and didst rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause, right? And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul sware, as the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all these things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul as he was in his house, and with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall, the javelin, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence and smote the javelin into the wall, and David fled and escaped that night. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, if thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window when he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed and put a pillow of goat hair for his bolster and covered it with cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, he is sick. And Saul sent the messenger again to see David, saying, bring him up to see me and to me in the bed, that I may slay him. And when the messenger was come in, behold, there was an image in bed with a pillow of goat hair for his bolster. And Saul said unto Michal, why hast thou deceived me, and so sent away my enemies that escaped? And Michal answered Saul, and he said unto me, Let me go. Why should I kill thee? So David fled and escaped and came to Samuel to Ramah and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naal. So this talking about the time that when Saul awaited from David in his home just to come into his home and to kill him while he was asleep. But then his daughter, Saul's daughter, helped David escape. Right? Now, check this out. This is again why I said when you read the book of Psalms, the book of Samuel, First and Second Samuel, and First Chronicle, they all line up with David. By everything with his testimony, what took place with him, what he did. Now, in 1 Samuel 19, we just read the story about David fleeing for Saul because Saul was trying to kill David, and he waited for him while he was in his home. Now, check this out in Psalms 59. This is how this get aligned, right? Psalms 59. And if you read the subtitle before you read the chapter, you'll see why it lines up perfect, right? Because it said, to the chief musician, Artaxerxes, minstrel of David, when Saul sent and they watched the house to kill him. This is what we just read in 1 Samuel 19. So it starts in, this is the prayer that David made out toward the Most High during this time of crisis. And in Psalms 59, starting in verse 1, it said, deliver me from my enemies, O my God. Defend me from them that rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity and save me from bloody men. For Lord, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me. Not for my transgression, nor for my sin, O Lord. They run and prepare themselves without my fault. Awake to help me, and behold, thou therefore, O Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, awake to visit all the heathen. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressor. Selah. They return at evening. They make a rose like a dog and go round about the city. Behold, they belch out with their mouths. Swords are in their lips, for who say they do fear. But thou, O Lord, shalt laugh at them. Thou shalt have all the heathen in derision. Because of his strength will I wait upon thee. For God is my defense. The God of my mercy shall prevent me. God shall let me see my desire upon my enemies. Slay them not, lest my people forget. Scatter them by the power and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. For the sins of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them be taken in their pride and for cursing and lying which they speak. Consume them in wrath, consume them that they may not be, and let them know that God ruleth in Jacob unto the ends of the earth. Selah. And at evening, let them return and let them make a noise like a dog and go round about to the city. Let them wander up and down for meat and goods if they be not satisfied. But I will sing of thy power, I will sing aloud in thy mercy, and in the morning, for thou hast been my defense and my refuge in the day of my trouble. Unto thee, O my strength, will I sing, for God is my defense and the God of my mercy. So this is the prayer that David prayed to the Most High during the time that it says that Saul waited from him, watched outside his house to kill him, right? And see, these are the examples how the Most High is using David to show how we are to cry out to our Creator for deliverance and for salvation and for protection. So I'm just saying like this. If you think that Christ is going to deliver you, you're going to be forever waiting. It ain't happening, right? So now, I want to read this one right here. And these are just to show you how to prepare yourself in a time that your enemies is persecuting you, right? Because this is what we live in right now, because every time I turn around, look who you are amongst your enemies. And they wait to kill you if you read Psalms 10, right? But David is showing you how you are to cry out to the Most High in a time of need and protection, right? Because see, a lot of people is going out here getting permits and buying guns and think this is what's going to protect them. And see, the thing is this: God tell you, man cannot protect you. Is you gotta lean on to the Most High, right? So now this is the time where we see David running from his son Absalom, right? Now I'm finna read 2 Samuel 15, and then we can go into the book of Psalms to show how it lines up with the story, what's taking place with David and Absalom. In 2 Samuel 15, and it came to pass after this that Absalom prepared them chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so that when any man that had a controversy came to the king for judgment, then Absalom called unto him and said, of what city art thou? And he said, thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel. And Absalom said unto him, see, thy matters are good and right, but there is no man deputed of the king to hear thee. Absalom said, moreover, oh, that I were made judge in the land, that every man which have any suit or cause might come unto me, and I will do him justice. And it was so that when any man came nigh to him to do him obeisance, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him. And on this manner did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king of judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men. This is just like when the Pope come up to the people and kissed them on the cheek. This is what it said what Absalom was doing. But in starting in 7 and 7, it came to pass after 40 years that Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go and pay my vow which I have vowed unto the Lord in Hebron. For thy servant vowed a vow which I abode at Geshur in Syria, saying, if the Lord shall bring me again indeed to Jerusalem, then will I serve the Lord. And the king said unto him, go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, as soon as ye hear the sounds of the trumpet, then ye shall say, Absalom reigned in Hebron. And with Absalom went 200 men and out of Jerusalem that were called, and they went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything. And Absalom sent for Ahithophel the Gileonite, David's counselor from his city, even from Gilo, while he offered sacrifices, and the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. And there came a messenger to David saying, the hearts of men of Israel are after Absalom. And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee, for we shall not else escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, lest we overtake us suddenly and bring evil upon us, and smite the city with the edge of the sword. And the king's servant said unto the king, behold, thy servant are ready to do whatsoever my lord the king shall appoint. And the king went forth and all his household after him, and the king left 10 women, which were concubines, to keep the house. And the king went forth and all the people after him, and tarried in the place that was far off. So this is a story where we seeing about David being is fleeing from his son because his son don't want to stole the hearts of the Israel to turn against David, right? So now we're gonna tie this up to Psalms 3, right? And this is in book 1, Psalms 3, and we can read the prayer what was made, the supplication what was made to the Most High during the time that David was fleeing from his son. So in Psalms 3, it starts off, it said, a psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. Lord, how are the increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in God. Salah. But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of my head. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. Salah. I lay me down and slept. I awake, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000 of people that have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for thou hast smitten all my enemies upon the cheekbone, thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord, thy blessing is upon thy people. Salah. So understand this, right? We are in a time that judgment is taking place. The evil is being brought more, that God said he's bringing darkness in the world to the point that we're going to see death come unto our people. And we don't have the faith that what David had for the Most High, then we pretty much is dead. Now, when you read Jeremiah 17, verse 5, it says, thus saith the Lord, cursed be to men that trust in men and make flesh his armor, whose heart depart from the Lord. How many people out here have went and got permits to buy guns to so-called believe that they're going to protect their home? Now, the whole thing is this, right? If people don't know how to come together, align themselves with the Most High, reestablish the covenant, then we pretty much has failed the Most High to the point is judgment has come upon us. Now, if you look up in the story up here in 2 Chronicles 15, we talk about, the story talks about King Asa, who reestablished the covenant. And anybody that was not set up under that covenant was put to death, right? And this was during the time that it said Oded the prophet prophesied to King Asa, right? So this is how the covenant is to be reestablished and be renewed. It says in the top, in 2 Chronicles 15, and the Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Oded. And he went out to meet Asa and said unto him, hear ye me, Asa and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you while ye be with him. And if ye seek him, he will be found of you. But if ye forsake him, he will forsake you. Now, for a long season, Israel have been without the true God and without a teaching priest and without law. But when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord God of Israel and sought him, he was found of them. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexation were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. And this is what we're talking about in World War III, what's about to take place with nations coming against nations, race wars, and so forth. If Israel, true Israel, melanated people, do not know how to come together and reestablish the covenant to be obedient to God's law, that judgment is come upon us, that in our time of judgment, even after your death, that God said that the carcass shall not quench his fire. In Isaiah 66 and 24. He lets you know that your soul is going to burn forever. Now, if you continue in verse 6, it said, a nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city, for God did vex them with all adversity. Be ye strong, therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. And when Asa heard these words and the prophecy of Oded the prophet, he took courage and put away the abominable idols out of all the land of Judah and Benjamin, and out of the cities which he had taken from Mount Ephraim, and renewed the altar of the Lord that was before the porch of the Lord. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh, and out of Simeon, for they fell to him of Israel in abundance when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. So they gathered themselves together at Jerusalem in the 3rd month, in the 15th year of the reign of Asa, and they offered unto the Lord the same time of the spoil which they had brought, 700 oxen and 700,000 sheep. And they entered into a covenant to seek the Lord God of their fathers with all their heart and with all their soul, that whosoever would not seek the Lord God of Israel shall be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman. And this talking about whether rich or poor, man or woman. And they swear unto the Lord with a loud voice, and with shouting, and with trumpets, and with cornets. And all Judah rejoiced at the oath, for they had sworn with all their hearts and sought him with their whole desire. And he was found of them, and the Lord gave them rest round about. And also concerning Maacah, the mother of Asa the king, he removed her from being queen, because she had made an idol in a grove, and Asa cut down her idols and stamped it and burnt it in the brook of Kidron. So you people who believe in the New Testament, Christianity, or JC, who think that this dude is going to dwell amongst the Most High, you are sadly mistaken. You are being misled. Ain't nowhere in the world that no religion, none whatsoever. I don't care if you Buddha, Islam, Mormon, no, it will not dwell amongst the Most High. It's only one covenant. So to hell with America's democracy. Democracy will not stand up toward the covenant of the Most High. When the law is being implemented and it returns in the world, hey, you got that choice to make, whether you going to follow the laws of the Creator or you going to follow men. And whatever you choose, that's how you going to be judged. Now, this talks about when it was in the land. But here, we talking about a future prophecy when the Most High telling us now, in the time that we are not in the land, how are we supposed to come back to him when you go into Isaiah 58? And we talking about fasting and praying and turning back toward the laws of the Most High, turning back toward the covenant. So, for brothers and sisters saying, how do we turn back to the Most High? How do we reestablish the covenant with the Most High? We are not in the land where the Most High gave us. There is no altar that a priest can build. and make sacrifices and peace offerings toward the Most High. But if we read Isaiah 58, the Most High tells us what we need to do to come back unto Him. And this is without having to build an altar and making peace offerings. Therefore, because we cannot give ourselves a position of authority and claim to be a priest of the Most High if you're not from the line of Aaron. And especially if the Most High didn't choose you. So in Isaiah 58, it says, cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of their God. They ask of me the ordinance of justice. They take delight in approaching to God. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not. Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge. That means in that time, you are fasting and crying out to the Most High, and this is all you're doing. There's no reading, no books, no nothing. You just fasting and crying out to the Creator. He said, behold, in the day of your fast, ye find pleasure and exact all your labors. Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast that ye do this day. So when you fasting, you're not fasting for strife or to debate about the word of God. You fasting for cleansing and purifying your soul, the return back unto the Creator. It says to make your voice to be heard on high. It said, is it such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressors go free, and that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to the house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thy own flesh. Now, right here, this is Most High telling you about him breaking the bands. This is what he's talking about, releasing us from our captivity. But then he also telling you about keeping the commandments, helping your neighbor, Leviticus 25:35 through 38. He says, then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thy health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. Then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, here I am. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger and speaking vanity. This is what the Most High telling you what you need to do. And if thou draw out the souls to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as the noonday. And the Lord shall guide thee continually. Then said the Most High is going to be with us, and then he's going to guide us, right? And satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be like a water garden, and like a spring of waters, whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. And thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight. The holy of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thy own words. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. So this is everything what the Most High is telling what he's going to do for us when we fast and pray and cry unto him and turn back toward the law, statutes, and commandments. Now, what these people is talking about, the rebuilding of the third temple, no, that has nothing to do with the Ashkenazi people, the fake Jews, however you want to call them. When it turns about repairing the breaches of the city, it's talking about us repairing the breaches of the city, returning unto Jerusalem and rebuilding the cities in Jerusalem. This is what the Most High is telling you about, right? So how is these people over here talking about a third temple, and you never had the king, you never had David to come about in order to tell you what it is that you need to do? None whatsoever. You can never leave David out when it comes back to the new covenant. Never. According to the law in Deuteronomy 17 and verse 15, it said, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to him, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horse. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Now, when you look at verse 16, this is what King Solomon did in First Kings, the 9th and the 10th chapter. But when you look up in here in verse 15, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose from among thy brethren, shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So, again, Joe Biden has nothing to do with us. Barack Obama has nothing to do with us. And even though he may claim to be a melanated person, no matter what the situation is, Barack Obama never chose to follow the covenant of the law. Barack Obama chose to follow the democracy of America. He enforced the laws of America. He do not enforce the covenant which was given to Moses by the Most High. So I don't care whether it be the heathen or your own people, if they are enforcing the laws of man, they are not keeping the laws of the Creator. I don't care how much they talk about the Most High, or whether they want to call him Lord, or they want to call him God and say we are endowed, created equal. No, we are not created equal. The Most High choose whom he shall rule. And in the days that when Israel returned in his rightful place to be ruler over the whole entire world, which the Most High chose King David, there will not be no equality. There will only be respect and obedience to the covenant. King David is to rule over the entire world. That's it, and that's all. Now, according to this law in Deuteronomy 17 and 15, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. If you read 1 Samuel 16, 2 Samuel, the second chapter, and 2 Samuel, the fifth chapter, David was anointed to be king 3 times. 3 times was he anointed to be king. The Most High tells you in Jeremiah 30 that David is to be a king over Israel again, as well as in Ezekiel 34, he's a shepherd that will feed the sheep. And in Ezekiel 37, verse 24 and 25, David is chosen to be king over Israel once more. So you cannot call yourself dismissing David, because in the law in Deuteronomy 4 and 2, what does it says? Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. And the same thing that was mentioned in Deuteronomy 4 is reiterated in Deuteronomy 12 and 32. You cannot dismiss King David. It says, what things soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it. The same law that was reiterated in Deuteronomy 4 and 2 is the same thing. So for a lot of people to say that what a so-called quote-unquote Messiah is not coming, no, I don't say Messiah. We know that it's a king to come. The Most High chose King David. Right? Right here, 1 Samuel 16. And the Most High tells you in Psalms 2 that David is to be head of the heathen. So, I read to you in Psalms 59 the story, the prayer, what took place with David when Saul was waiting for him outside his home to kill him. So you got Psalms 59 and 1 Samuel 19 is the testimony of what took place during the time that David was fleeing from King Saul. Not only was David fleeing from Saul, but he was also fleeing from his son Absalom in 2 Samuel 15. And then there's a prayer that goes out in Psalms 3 that reiterates what was being said during that time when David was fleeing from his own son. So if you look at 2 Samuel 15 and Psalms 3, they both coincide with one another. And the whole book of First Chronicle, well, I think once you get to like First Chronicles, like in let me see, First Chronicles, when we 9 and 10, you start seeing the story about David, what all took place with him in that time, what we dealing with in the book of Samuel. Because all these stories repeats itself, just like when you hear about the story about when God came to David and he said, choose these 3 things which the Most High had brought upon him, the 7 years of famine, the 3 months of fleeing from your enemies, or the 3 days of pestilence. This was mentioned in 2 Samuel 24, but it was also repeated in 1 Chronicles 21. So these same stories repeats itself from the book of Samuel into the book of Chronicles. But when you look in the book of Psalms, these are prayers that went out during the time of David was going through his atrocities with having to deal with his own people trying to kill him. Not only them, but the Philistines just as well. So his prayers in there is also. So let me show one. And I'm gonna just show one more. And this one talks about, let's see, gotta pick one. Pick this. This was one in particular that I wanted to read. I'm trying to find it. I just had it. No, I got it. Okay, here we go. Now this is during the time we see in the testimony of 1 Samuel 27. And this is going to be the last one that I read. And this just to show you how these stories parallel with one another. The book of Psalms coincide with the book of Samuel and the book of First Chronicles, where it speaks about King David, right? So now, it's a lot of reading. Bear with me. I know people get bored when people do reading. They tend to fall asleep. Don't fall asleep on me. Got you. Okay. And in 1 Samuel 27, the chapter in chapter 27, the title of this chapter is called David's Deception of Achish. And it's only 12 verses. And then we could go into the book of Psalms and line this up with the story what we about to read in 1 Samuel 27. So bear with me. And 27, starting from the top, it said, and David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hands of Saul. There is nothing better for me than I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines. And Saul shall despair of me to seek me any more in any coast of Israel, so shall I escape out of his hand. And David arose and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him unto Achish, the son of Maat, king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his two wives, Ahinoam the Israelites and Abigail the Carmelites. And it was told Saul that David was fled to God, and he sought no more again for him. And David said unto Achish, if I have now found grace in thy eyes, right? And let me stop right there, right? Because a lot of people were sitting over here telling you, said, well, we are saved by grace. How can you be saved by grace if your people is still being killed in the world? Now, when Israel was in the land, the Most High gave Israel rest from all its enemies. Understand this, right? If you look up in the story of what we just read with David, anytime David came upon his enemy, he said, well, if I found grace, meaning that his enemy was going to spare him. This is the same thing what Jacob told Esau in Genesis 31. If I found grace, meaning spare me. So for people to come over here and say that we are giving grace in a land of our captivity, that is not so. Because if you look up in Amos 9:9, the Most High said he was going to sift us from amongst our enemies. So how is you giving grace in the land of your enemy when you are still being judged and being killed? Now look at this, Amos 9, verse 9, right? He said, for lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. So he letting you know right now, we're being judged amongst our enemy. So how is it that you have grace, that you being spared amongst your enemy when you study being killed in the land of your enemies? Now, if you look up in Jeremiah 31 and 2, is when the Most High said he had given Israel grace in the wilderness. Let's see right here. Jeremiah 31, and starting at verse 1, it said, at the same time said the Lord, would I be the God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. Thus saith the Lord, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. That's the only time Israel was given grace, is when the Most High gave them rest from all their enemies. So how is it that every time somebody turn around and want to say that God gave us grace and you are amongst your enemies? The Most High said, when you amongst your enemies, you will have no rest. There's no grace when your enemies is trying to kill you. So let's get that clear. The Most High said, you will not have no rest amongst your enemies. There's no such things as having grace amongst your enemies. Right? Now, let me continue to go back to 1 Samuel 27. Right? And it said, I finished at 5, I'm going into 6. Achish gave him Ziklag that day, wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the king of Judah unto this day. And the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. And David and his men went up and invaded the Gershites and the Gezrites and the Amalekites, for those nations were of old the inhabitants of the land as thou goest to Shur, even unto the land of Egypt. And David smote the land and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep and the oxen and the asses and the camels and the apparels, and returned and came to Achish. And Achish said, Whither have ye made a road today? And David said, against the south of Judah, and against the south of Aramelites, and against the south of the Canaanites. And David saved neither man or woman alive to bring tidings to God, saying, lest they should tell on us, saying, so did David, and so will be his manner all the while he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines. And Achish believed David, saying, he hath made his people Israel utterly to abhor him, therefore he shall be my servant forever. So now check this out. We just read 12 verses in chapter 27, which the title of this chapter is called David's Deception of Achish. David went into these lands and ended up killing these people and came back and lied to Achish about what he had done. Now, let's go according to, this is book 2, reading in the book of Psalms, chapter 56. And the subtitle right here says, to the chief musician upon Anathalim, Yeroham, Mishtam of David, when the Philistines took him in Gath. And this is the same thing what we just read at 1 Samuel 27. Psalms 56 starting at the top. Be merciful unto me, O God, for man will swallow me up. He fighting daily oppress me. My enemies will daily swallow me up, for they be many that fight against me. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. In God will I praise his word, in God have I put my trust. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. Every day they rest my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil. They gather themselves together. They hide themselves. They mark my steps when they wait for my soul. Shall they escape by iniquity in thy anger? Cast down the people, O God. Thou tellest my wandering, put thou my tears in thy bottle. Are they not in book? When I cry unto thee, then shall my enemies turn back. This I know, for God is for me. In God will I praise his word, and the Lord will I praise his word. And God have I put my trust. I will not be afraid of what man can do unto me. Thy vows are upon me, O God. I will render praise unto thee, for thou hast delivered my soul from death. Will not thou deliver my feet from falling, that I may walk before God in the light of the living? Right? So check this out. We just align Psalms 56 according to the story what took place with King David in the land of Achish. We did the same thing with Psalms, the 3rd chapter, with David fleeing from his son Absalom. We also did this as in Psalms 59 with David at home and talks about how Saul waited for David outside his house to kill him in 1 Samuel 19. All these stories line up with the book of Psalms. And I'm not going to say all of them because if you look in Psalms, it has 150 chapters. David also allowed the Levite scribes to write books in the Bible, in the book of Psalms just as well. Now, if you look right here, Psalms 81 is about the Psalm of Asaph. Asaph was a Levite in the book of Numbers. He has hymns and songs about him, King Solomon, Moses, everything that took place according to what happened during these times. So when you read the book of Psalms, there are songs singing according to the time that these stories was taking place, to whom that these stories pertain to. So just like what people keep on talking about Psalms 110 that David wrote about JC, no, he didn't. Never. He never wrote about JC. Nothing about the New Testament. About the New Testament is written in the Old Testament. When you look at Psalms 110, this was written by King David. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thy enemies. David is set to be king over his enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power and the beauties of holiness. From the wombs of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Lord has sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. David is the priest after the order of Melchizedek. David ate the showbread in 2 Samuel 20 during the time that he was fleeing from King Saul, when the priest of Abimelech asked him, have you sustained yourself from women for these last 3 days? Which David said he did, and he was given the showbread instead of the common bread. The same thing in 2 Samuel 5, when David danced before the Most High wearing the ephod. And if you read in Exodus, the 28th chapter, only the Levite priests were allowed to wear the ephod. David wore the ephod here in Second Samuel. In 2 Samuel 6. This is in 2 Samuel 6. David wore the ephod. David was also made peace offerings and burnt offerings. Let me see where the ephod is, right? Okay. 2 Samuel 6 and 14. And David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. David has the ephod on. Even when you read in 2 Samuel, and it talks about when 2 Samuel 20, David ate the showbread. David escorted to Jordan. It is 2 Samuel 20. It's between 2 Samuel 20 and 21 when David was fleeing from, in this one, okay, Saul, right here, 2 Samuel 21. And it talks about how Doeg the Edomite came back and gave information to Saul about David was given the sword of Goliath, and he ate the showbread during that time. Right. So when you talk about the order of Melchizedek, you tell me who else besides King David that ate the showbread and that wore the ephod? Because when King Uzziah tried to burn incense in the temple, he was told not to. and he died as a leper, right? So let me see this. First Samuel 21:6. It's First Samuel 21:6. And this is where David is eating the showbread. It says, so the priest gave him hollow bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So you explain to me what other king in the southern kingdom who has ever eaten the showbread, which is only given to the Levite priests. What other king had ever worn the ephod and danced before the Most High? There's nobody else but David. So the whole thing about this, right? A lot of people try to dismiss King David and says there's nobody to return, and they have to say that you have to save yourself, which your brother said up on somebody else's channel that I heard, that you have to save yourself. It's mentioned like that in Ezekiel 14, that it tells you about Job, Daniel, and Noah will not save their sons and daughters, that they have to save themselves. Meaning you have to make the decision on turning back toward the covenant and keeping the laws of the Creator. Okay. Toward the Creator. With that being said, based upon the decisions that you choose, that's how the Most High deals with us according to the decisions that we make. So, my thing is this. When you try to dismiss David and say there's not going to be a king, who is going to be over the house of Israel if there's not going to be a king? I mean, who is? Because if you read it, Psalms 132, the Most High tell you that the crown should be put on King David's head. This is Psalms 132, right? Let's go there. Psalms 132. And I'm going to start at verse 13. It said, for the Lord hath chosen Zion. He hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provision. I will satisfy her poor with bread. I will clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointed. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. He said, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. Verse 17, there will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointed. Psalms 89. I have found David, my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed. But a lot of people over here is talking about David is not going to return. A lot of people is planned on to return. One of the promises that the Most High made to Israel in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19, I have called heaven and earth to record against you this day curses and blessing, life and death. Choose life that thou and thy seed may live. That was a vow that was made to the children of Israel that if they chose to keep the covenant, that their souls will live. And see, a lot of people get to talk about this thing when you go back to the word forever. Oh, it wasn't forever because the fact is they went into captivity. But see, what people don't understand, when you look at something like this, right? Let me show you something like with Genesis 49, right? When you look at Genesis 49 and you look at, say what he said, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise, thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies, thy father's children shall bow down before him. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art going up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and until him shall the gathering of the people be. So to understand this, right? Each time Israel went into captivity, and when they came out of their captivity, who was sitting as king over Israel? It was the seed of David. That's why when you read the book of Kings from the southern kingdom, look at all David's descendants that sat on the throne. Whether they was good or whether they was evil, it was still a descendant that came from David. No matter how you put it. So when you talk about forever, we talking about to be continued. To be continued. So it's like this. You get punished, you go into captivity, but when you come back out, you already know who the bloodline is that's going to be king over Israel. It's all to be continued. Even then when you read in the scripture when they said, keep my Sabbath forever. When Israel went into captivity, this is Exodus 20 right here, right? And 20 verse 8. And you look right here, and it says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy works. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and hallowed it. He telling you to keep his Sabbath, right? But check this out. When Israel went into captivity, was Israel ever keeping the Sabbath? When you look up in the book of Ezra 7, Nehemiah 13, 2 Chronicles 31, and 2 Chronicles 34 and chapter 35, These holy feast days were reestablished when Israel came out of their captivity. The holy feast days were reestablished when Israel came out of his captivity. So when you say forever, you're talking about to be continued. Not meaning, even if you go into captivity, you still got to keep these holy Sabbath days. The Most High said over here in Isaiah 24:1, thus says the Lord, He maketh the earth empty, He make it waste, He turn it upside down, and He scattered the inhabitants thereof. He tell you this side of the earth is completely opposite, that goes against the laws of the Creator. So how is it that everybody's over here arguing about what day it is to do a Sabbath, whether it be on Saturday or whether it be according to the new moon? Even if you do it according to the new moon, understand this: your King David and your God, the Most High, is not in a position where we stand there. We are ruling over the entire earth. Where the Most High said that he would exalt David's throne from the river unto the sea, that the whole world is acknowledged to be up under the covenant of the Most High, that the whole entire world is to keep these laws and these feast days. And this is future prophecy. So why is it that we argue about when is the Passover? When is the Feast of Unleavened? When is the Feast of Tabernacle? When is the Feast of Sukkot? How can you do all these days, these holy feast days, when you do not have a clue when they are? Because right now, everybody is still trying to figure it out. The Most High said in Lamentations 2, right? That he had destroyed the tabernacle in order for the feast to be forgotten. And this is why we are back and forth trying to be more knowledgeable what we think we are and try to be more knowledgeable than the next man. Whatever the Most High say he did away with, you cannot bring back unless the Most High bring it back. How have the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remember not his footstool in the day of his anger? The Lord has swallowed up all the habitations of Jacob and have not pitied. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof. He hath cut off in his fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy, and he hath burned against Jacob like a flaming fire with devour round about. He hath bent his bow like an enemy. He stood with his right hand as an adversary and slew all that were pleasant to the eye in the tabernacle of the daughter of Zion. He poured out his fury like fire. The Lord was an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his strongholds and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. He hath violently taken away his tabernacle as if it were of a garden. He hath destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord hath caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and have despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priests. Again, and he hath violently taken away his tabernacle as if it were of a garden. He hath destroyed the places of assembly. The Lord have caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and have despised the indignation of his anger, the king and the priests. So with all these things that people want to go back and say, well, we do it according to the new moon, or I do it according to April in the Passover. What you think you're doing? The land is still polluted. Your enemies still rule over you. And in case you didn't know, when Numbers 16:22, right? Moses asks the Most High. He said, if one doeth wrong, will the Most High not be wroth with the whole congregation? If one of our people did something wrong, the whole entire nation was punished. You see, all through this entire world, our people are killing one another, committing adultery, and breaking every commandment of the covenant that the Most High gave Israel. So the thing is this: how can you claim to be holy in the land of your enemy, which is not holy, that pollutes the covenant of the Creator, violates every law that the Most High has given to Israel, because they do have a law of homosexuality, which in Leviticus 20:13, we don't supposed to indulge in. But in America, everybody's claiming to be so holy and keeping the laws of the Most High, when this land is polluted and goes against every law that the Most High has established with Israel. For one, Ashkenazi are not Jews. They are not our people. They are not the people that the Most High chose. They do not keep the commandments of the Creator. Understand that. In Exodus 19:6, it said what? Israel was supposed to be a nation of priests unto the whole entire world. Where in the whole entire world is everybody throughout the world keeping the laws of the Creator? Where? Because he said that the law is no more, right? Listen to this, Lamentation 1. It said, how do the cities sit solitary that was full of people? How did she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations and princes among the provinces, how has she become tributaries? She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she have none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feast. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries are the chief. Her enemies prosper, for the Lord have afflicted her for the multitude of her transgression. Her children are going into captivity before the enemy. And from the daughter of Zion, all her beauty is departed. Her princes are become like harts that find no pasture, and they are gone without strength before the pursuer. Jerusalem remembered in the day of her affliction, of her miseries, all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hands of the enemy, and none did help her. The adversary saw her and did mock at her Sabbaths. Look, he said right here, Jerusalem remembered in the days of her affliction, of her miseries, all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hands of the enemy, and none did help her. The adversary saw her, and look what they did. He said, and did mock at her Sabbaths, made fun of your Sabbaths. Jerusalem have grievously sinned, therefore she is removed. All that honor her despise her, because they have seen her nakedness. Ye, she sighed and turned it backward. Her filthiness is in her skirts. She remembered not her last end. Therefore she came down wonderfully. She had no comforter. O Lord, behold my affliction, for the enemy have magnified himself. The adversary has spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things, for she has seen that the heathen enter into her sanctuary, whom thou did command that they should not enter into thy congregation. All her people sigh, they seek bread, they are given their pleasant things for me to relieve the soul. See, O Lord, and consider, for I am become vile. But you say, we keep the Sabbath on the seventh day, which I'll claim is Saturday, according to a Gregorian calendar, which your enemy is over you, who destroy you. Okay. But what's that said? I think it says in Proverbs 4, he said, with all thy understanding, he said, with all thy knowledge, get understanding. How is it that you can claim to be holy in the land that is not yours? And even if you read in Ezekiel 36, it tell you all the holy feast days is returned unto you. All the we will be able to do the sacrifices and so forth. What is so holy about America? What is so holy about any nation in the world that the law wasn't given to, that Israel is keeping, or so-called keeping, commandments of the holy feast days in a land that's not yours? Deuteronomy 5:30-33, and it says right here, it said, go say to them, get you into your tents again. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgment which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. These things are to be done in the land. Right? But the title right there in that chapter said God uses Moses to teach Israel. Now, David is to teach Israel everything is what to be known and expected for us to do when we get back into the land. Deuteronomy 17:15, you shall not put a stranger over you, but whom the Most High God shall choose. Most High chose David. These three, well, I'll say six, because each chapter and book gives testimony to the plea that David cried out to the Most High, how we are to cry unto our God in a time of darkness. So those days are here, but not yet full. Because you look up in here, what Deuteronomy 7 and 22, the Most High explains everything is done little by little. And the Lord thy God will put out those nations before thee by little and little, thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. Exodus 23 and 29 says the same thing. Okay. So, with that being said, these chapters was read in order to give examples of how David cried out to the Most High for protection, fleeing from his enemy. And this is the same thing as what we are to do in the day of darkness, when we, like he said, nation will fight against nation, city against city, which what you read in 2 Chronicles 15. People is not trying to reestablish the covenant by fasting, praying, and keeping the commandment, which is mentioned in Isaiah 58. Okay. But that being said, I would like to thank brothers and sisters that tuned in to the channel. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell. More videos will be brought out. Information is given to true Israel, or what is expected of us as melanated Israel to do according to the will of our Creator. What do he expect for us to do, turning back to the laws of God in the land of our oppressor? Because this is when you really gonna need the Most High, that when your enemy put their foot on your neck, what would you be doing? Who will you be crying out to? So, again, I thank for people that sit back and listening to this video. I hope it be informational to the point that it pretty much see somebody's intellect, that they may take heed of it and acknowledge the words of the Creator. The Most High tells us in Deuteronomy 6, verse 17 and 18, ye shall diligently keep the laws and the testimony and the commandments which I command you, and then you shall do what's right and good in the sight of the Most High, that it may be well with thee, that ye may go and possess the land which I have sworn unto your fathers. Which was Isaiah the prophet, who reiterated these words in Isaiah 8 and 20, to the laws and to the testimony, if they speak not of these words, because there's no light in them. Meaning, in order to understand the law, you got to look at the testimony. In order to make better decisions, you got to learn the laws and the testimonies. That's why the Most High, again, I have called heaven and earth to record against you this day curses and blessing, that thou, and he said, choose life that thou and thy seed may live. You have a choice to make on whether you want to be on the right side of the Most High, or do you want to be on the left side of the Most High. You have to make that decision. So my wife.
So
It's been a minute since she just sat up here. So, thank you for sitting in here with me. But I hope this video is informational. And for brothers and sisters who say that they Israel and choose to follow in the ways of the Creator, please acknowledge the Most High. Please acknowledge King David, the way he said that David is a leader and commander unto the people on how we're supposed to carry and behave ourselves in the presence of our God and what we need to do in order to get back to our God, that the Most High will delight in us as well as he delighted in David. With that, say la to the Most High and shalom to brothers and sisters. Until I see you again on the next video, peace out. Peace out. Yeah.